I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brand John never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
It is the BJ Show. You can check us out at bjshow.co if you want to hear past episodes of the show or this episode in a few hours. You can go to bjshow.video. Now, the main guy is right across the table from me. Actually, I think he's across Table Rock from me, something like that. Anyway, John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. Every single day he puts together this list of all sorts of interesting things across the state of Missouri. We condense it down to the top 3, and we started off with this guy. What's your name again?
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what's your job?
We're on our way to the number 1.
That's his job, and we start off with...
In third place...
An alumni update, Brad. Somebody we haven't heard about in a little while, who is an alumni of the Missouri legislature, an alumni of the St. Louis political crowd, so to speak, and a hero to many, a gentleman named Bruce Franks. Brad, do you remember that name?
We talked about him about 3 or 4 weeks ago. Remember, because of the fact that he was the guy. First off, he came to fame by the Michael Brown riots, but he was the guy that ran for state legislature, claimed that the election was fixed, and it was, and they redid the election, and he won.
You're exactly right. And then he was elected because essentially because of the redo, right?
Exactly. They reran the election.
Well, he is back in the news, Brad. Now, he has popped up in the news over the last few years. He left the state of Missouri after resigning his seat as a state legislator. We can get back to that in a minute. But he's in the news now. And by the way, this piece is brought to us in the Post-Dispatch by Joe Holloman, who's the political correspondent / columnist. And Bruce Franks is being charged with multiple felonies in Maricopa County in Arizona. Did you happen to see this headline at all, Brad?
I did not. I thought he went to California, but he's in Arizona now?
Well, I believe he went to Atlanta for a while, and then I believe he went to Arizona. Yeah, so apparently, now the other day, Brad, we talked a little bit about how creative ways that you can make cash legally or illegally through campaigns. And,
right.
That's not financial or legal advice. But we talked a little bit about grift and how you can run various scams. As it turns out, Bruce Franks, his fiance at the time, I'm not sure if they're married now or if they're engaged or what the status of their relationship is, but his fiance was the Maricopa County Democratic Party executive director. And she allegedly, according to court documents, they were doing a big mailing before the 2022 election, and it was for about somewhere around in the neighborhood of $25,000. So she allegedly told one of the party's subcontractors, hey, hire my fiance, Bruce. He's going to take care of all the mailing. Don't have to worry about it. Turns out Bruce Franks allegedly falsified all the mail documents, the postal documents. The mailers never actually got mailed, but Bruce got to keep the money for a little while. And this is what really, I guess, irked the Maricopa County officials. And in fact, the rest of the people in the Maricopa County Democratic Party were quite unhappy about the fact that $25,000 worth of mailers didn't actually hit mailboxes over that period of time.
Well,
so the woman's name, who was executive party director, was Nalexia Galloway, and I'm guessing her parents might have been from Lenexa, Kansas, and then they just wanted to pay homage, so they jumbled up the letters and threw an apostrophe in there. But Nalexia sent the money or sent the work to a subcontractor who was able to funnel it through Bruce Franks, and then Bruce got to keep the $25,000. And then allegedly after he was caught, he returned the money and was kind of like, no harm, no foul. And authorities have a different view of it. So you'll recall that Bruce Franks resigned his seat in the Missouri legislature. There was a little bit of a hubbub over a nonprofit group and a no-show job, and Bruce Franks allegedly falsifying timesheets. And then Bruce just resigned and left the state eventually. So it's an alumni update, Brad. It seems like every couple years we get an update on Bruce Franks. Remember his shtick was that he would wear the Superman shirt because he was Superman. Remember that?
Right, I do remember that. Now, but hold on a minute now. He got some kind of a deal where he became a subcontractor for the mailing house, and then he never. How do they know he never mailed the stuff?
Well, what I'm guessing is, Brad, if you're in the Maricopa County Democratic Party and you're excited about a big pre-election fundraiser, you're running for state rep in a close race, and then none of your friends end up seeing the mailers in their mailbox, you probably start to ask questions. Like 25 grand can mail a lot of mailers, you know?
Was that mail about 6 mailers nowadays?
It might, but yeah. So I would suggest, you know what, check it out and you know, assess the validity of these allegations themselves. And also, you know, again, Bruce Franks pointed out that he. Where is it here? He said that, you know, eventually he gave the money back, Brad. So I don't know what people are so mad about. Like if you happen to take some money and then don't perform services, and then eventually you give the money back, like why are people so hot about it?
Is this a felony charge or is it a misdemeanor charge? Do you know?
It is 7. I believe it's 7 felony counts. Yeah.
Wow.
They're class 4 felonies. I'm sorry. 9 felony counts of forgery. The charges are class 4 felonies, each punishable by 1 year to 45 months in prison.
Man. Doesn't seem like that's the kind of thing you do for $25,000, does it?
Yeah, but you know what? People have done some shady things for less money, Brad.
I guess. Okay, Casey, come back in.
Up a notch to number 2.
Number 2, John.
A lot of chatter on the social medias yesterday, Brad, about a race that we haven't talked much about and that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. The state treasurer race. Now, I'm going to put you on the spot, Brad. Other than the incumbent, Vivek Malik, can you name anybody that's actually running for state treasurer?
I cannot. Is that emblematic of who is running against him?
Well, you know, I think, first of all, Brad, that's not a commentary on you, or it's not a commentary on the candidates that are running in this race. I think it's just the fact there's so much other noise going on, and state treasurer is not a high-profile race. So what's been going on lately, and there's been a lot of chatter about this on social media for the last few weeks, is the state treasurer's office administers what's known as the Mo Scholars program. So that's when you think about educational savings accounts. And we've talked a lot about the idea of the quote unquote school choice. And critics would call it vouchers, of whether you're able to take money and apply it to, say, a private school education. Well, I'll cut to the chase, Brad. The controversy is one of the candidates in the state treasurer's race, a woman named Lori Rook, says that she does not support the quote school choice or voucher system as it exists today. And her objection to it, according to her, is that with all the school legislation that's been passed first in 2021 and then in 2024, it gives DESE, the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, too much power. She says that DESE does not need to know what homeschool curriculum plans are. They don't need data on homeschool programs. So what's unique about this, Brad, and the reason why this caught the eye of the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, the story is by Jack Suntrup of the Post-Dispatch, is because as reporters are going through these campaign finance reports that were due on July 15th, Lori Rook paid about $150,000 to a group called ArmorVine. Now, ArmorVine has had a high profile in the last couple sessions because they have been lobbying and working hard against this charter school legislation. So when people saw 150 grand in consultant fees going to this group called ArmorVine, people were like, whoa, why would you spend this much money? Now, for Lori Rook's part, she says, hey, this group ArmorVine, a lot of other campaigns pay consultants. This group, ArmorVine, does a whole lot of services for me. She didn't go into much detail. But I guess the gist of it is here, Brad. And the curious thing about this type of story is that if you're running for state treasurer, and most people who don't know your name, and you think that Lori Rook is wrong on school choice, do you spend your money pointing out that Lori Rook is, quote, wrong, unquote, on school choice? Or do you spend your money trying to get people to know what your name is. The other candidates in the race, by the way, besides the incumbent Vivek Malik, are Andrew Koenig, who's a state senator here, Cody Smith, who's the chairman of the House Budget Committee, and they're the other candidates in this race, and they're known for being pro-school choice. So anyway, I've rambled about this long enough. Does this make sense what I'm laying out here, Brad?
It does, but I guess, listening to things like that and talking with people who are involved in campaigns right now, I have to say that, John, you and I are in the wrong business. We should be campaign consultants, and, I could do it very easily. They could pay me I could get let's say, name a guy who's running for rep out in St. Charles County, off the top of your head.
Tony Lavasco.
Tony, I'm Brad Hildebrand, and for just $150,000, I will consult you on how to get reelected. And he pays me the money. He writes, Brad, that sounds like a deal. He writes me the check. I say 2 words, actually 3 words, Tony, 3 words, actually 4 words, 4 words. Tony, ready for this? I'll give you two at a time. Yard signs, door knocking. Now, go do that, and you'll get elected.
It's pretty simple.
Yeah, nothing to it. Door knocking and yard signs, and you'll get elected. It's the universal way to get, John.
Go ahead, Brad. Go ahead. There's something. You got something in the chamber you're about to unload here.
Okay. I've been less than successful getting any advertising on the station from all these candidates who are spending tons of money, but not here. So I'm thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to look all their addresses up. I'm going to go knock on their door. Hi, I'm Brad Hildebrand. I'm a local radio station owner. I'm knocking on your door. I want you to vote for my radio station. And here's how you vote for my radio station. Grab your checkbook and write me a check, and I'll run some ads in your station. See, now, here's the problem. You know what happened after I did, let's say after I got to the 3rd or 4th politician?
What happened there? First of all, they brought up Mark McCloskey, and after he did a cycle of his TRT, he came out with a gun.
They would call the police on me, and they would go, this guy's knocking on my door, and he's wanting me to buy advertising at his radio station. I'm going okay, how different is that? You knocking on their doors, other people's doors, asking for your vote. You know what I'm saying? But he targeted me. He came to my house. My house is off limits. Since when? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I'm glad that we were able to make the number 2 story about you, Brad. I mean, my goal is generally to help make one of the 3 stories about one of us, Brad, and we were able to do that. So check it out. I have a paywall-free version. Most people are not paying attention to the state treasurer's race, and the eternal conundrum is if you feel like your opponent has a bad position, do you spend your money raising their name ID and saying this person sucks and has bad ideas? Or do you just want people to know who Cody Smith is? Do you just want people to know who Andrew Koenig is? Well, that's the conundrum.
See,
Brad.
that's my question all the time, that when you start running, slam advertising against somebody, once again, it's name recognition. You're bringing their name up, right? And aren't you, to a certain extent, doing them a favor by promoting their name?
I think that's what, and without belaboring this, Brad, the unique thing is that Lori Rook is the only woman in the race, which probably gives her an advantage. As when some Republican women would come into the ballot box and not be sure who any of the folks are, they might be inclined to vote for a woman instead of voting for one of the 3 men that are on the ballot.
Yeah, because we all know.
Go ahead, Brad.
Well, my motto: whatever a man can do, a woman can do better. So it's pretty simple who you vote for.
I know that is a good beta cuck and pedestalizing approach, Brad. When we talk about people who were raised in a way in which they pedestalize women, it leads us nicely into story number 1.
Which is?
The number 1.
Quietly, Brad, it didn't get a whole lot of headlines around here, and I had it on my website, but we didn't talk about it on the show. The Washington University Transgender Center is no more. Have you heard this?
I heard her interviewed the other day in 97.1. What's her name? The
Jamie Reed.
Jamie. Well, once again, according to what she says, this is not official because they started, I can't remember if it was Mark Reardon or Mark Cox that sort of nailed her down. And it almost sounded like she was backsliding a little bit when she was saying, well, I can tell you that the director resigned and moved to Arizona and the so-and-so. and I think Mark actually asked, well, is this officially shut down? Well, not officially. Apparently, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess it's not official until there's a press release.
Now, hold on, Brad. You're talking about the whistleblower, Jamie Reed, right? You're not talking about somebody who's still at the center.
No. They talked to her because she was interviewed and she had
what's the pronoun here? Her is Jamie Reed.
Jamie Reed. Yeah, they
Got it. Okay,
they talked to Jamie Reed. They called up Jamie Reed, identified her as the whistleblower, the whole bit. And she's the one that has supposedly broke the story because she says, quote, inside information. But once again, it's not been, at least in maybe, today's Thursday. This was Tuesday, I think I heard this interview, okay? Is there something new since Tuesday? I mean, if they sent out an official release, the Washington University is closing down. Has that been done, or is it still?
No, I'm looking at it. Yeah, I'm looking for it right now, and I don't see an official one. Now, the Post-Dispatch did have a piece on it the other day, Brad, but I'm not sure. To your point, I'm not sure if they were able to confirm it. Let me get to the op-ed that I linked to today, which is the Post-Dispatch runs it, and Jamie Reed brings up a really good point, which is, ever since she did the whistleblowing, first of all, she flags, as she always does, that she describes herself as a, quote, fierce LGBT rights advocate, unquote. And the gist of it is, new evidence has come out over the last, I guess, year since she has made these allegations. A number of governments in Europe, for example, have done more studies and shown that the gender dysphoria treatment is either ineffective and or harmful. What Jamie Reed's point is that young people who are who are either children or preteens or teenagers, if they are dealing with gender confusion, which she says is a real thing, they need to talk to somebody. They need to talk about what they're feeling. They don't need to go on hormone treatment or go under the knife. And that idea in and of itself is offensive to a lot of people, or people who claim to be offended by that idea. So I would suggest folks at least skim it. I learned some stuff skimming through it, and we certainly haven't heard anything. We haven't heard a big deal about it. And to your point, Brad, maybe WashU clearly doesn't want to celebrate this because they know they would be taking an L here. They would be taking a loss. And also people would probably the people who are on the extreme end of the transgender side would probably say that they're cowering and that they're sellouts and that they gave in to pressure and whatever.
Well, like I said, I mean, I heard her and she gave if she was an attorney making a pitch to a jury, she gave compelling evidence that the clinic was being shut down. But once again, no official notification, that type of thing. I mean, John, this whole thing to me is just so bizarre. I mean, you as go back to when you were 12 or 13 years old, okay? Mm-hmm. There are crazy things that went through your head. You're going like, well, I want to do this. I mean,
I thought I was going to be a shortstop for the Cardinals, Brad.
Right.
Like, nothing is more lunatic fringe than that.
Right. And once again, I mean, there's research, especially in men, that shows that the human brain is not fully formed until you're, like 25 or something like that?
Until 90, and you're 89, Brad. I mean, to me, you're the poster boy.
Well, no, they talk about this all the time in the military.
Yeah, that's true. It's not. And now that's usually, as conservatives and or libertarians, we usually vomit at that because that's usually the excuse for not locking up an 18-year-old hoodlum. Is like, well, his brain just isn't developed. He's not responsible for what he does. But you are right, though, Brad.
Well, I just don't understand. The interesting thing, once again, let's go back to my example I said the other day. Let's go back 50 years, okay? 50 years ago, and you're going to a lecture, and this guy is saying, I can see the future, I can see the future. And you're going, oh, go to this lecture. So the year would have been, 50 years ago, that would have been, what,
1974?
74, okay, so you're going.
Now, I wasn't born, but we know some old people that were around in 1974.
Like in 74, I think I would have been like 50 or something like that. Okay, anyway, so he says, in the state of Missouri, I see a state where we're going to have legalized gambling, and we're going to have the lottery, and you can go to your neighborhood store and buy a marijuana, and then you can also bet on sports. And you know what? And if you don't want to be a man, you can be a woman. If you don't want to be a woman, you can be a man. People be going like, man, this guy is lunatic. He must be a friend of Timothy Leary. He's on LSD or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Now, if you would have told me at 13 that someday I could walk into a Planet Fitness and go into the girls' shower room, I would have been on board, Brad.
Okay, I snorted. I'm sorry.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T, John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?